Hi everybody, welcome to the channel today. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about it's an addition to a video that I shot 2 days ago. And in that video, I published it about a few days ago. And in that video, I was reacting to a video where I asked if Jesus was broke, um, or if he was bankrupt, right? So a lot of people, dropped a lot of comments. Okay. All right, so we are good with audio. I just was checking the audio sound and all. So thank you for joining. Let me know where you're watching from. I can see that I have viewers right now. Let me know your comments in the comment section where you're watching from. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about if Jesus was broke or if he had a secret source of wealth. Don't mind me. I'm looking at my laptop screen to study the live streaming session. So I'll probably even play, that particular video where the person who was speaking was talking about how Jesus was not broke. He gave different instances from scripture as to why Jesus was not broke. And amazingly, there were a lot of reactions and comments in the comment section. And it was an interesting video for me because that video has done over 200,000 views. The views is not what matters more for me, but what the intention behind that video is, or what the intention behind that video always is. So I'm going to be playing that video in few minutes. I'm going to play that video once again, and then we can talk about it. We're going to react to that video. So just give me a minute while I set up that video. Let me know where you're watching from. All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to be further reacting to a video I reacted to a few days ago. I posted a video where someone was answering the question of if Jesus was broke or not financially. And there were a lot of reactions to that particular video that I posted. And interestingly, it drove a lot of conversations, controversies, questions, answers, and I feel like it's just a follow up. In a bit to follow up that video, I am having to create this video. By the way, let me know how your Sunday service was. Drop it in the comment section while I play that video right away. So just a minute, please. Okay. So I guess you can see my screen now.
Was Jesus really broke? Historical evidence tells us he was actually a pretty successful entrepreneur.
Please let me know what you're seeing in the comment section. I'll be checking that. I think I shared wrongly. All right, so this was the video. So this was the video that I shared 2 days ago that had a lot of people asking if Jesus was broke or if he was rich financially on the earth. And it caused a lot of stir in the comment section of that particular short reaction video that I shot. And that is why I'm having to create this video afresh as a follow-up on that video to hear what you think live as we're having interactions. And I can probably invite somebody on the live chat or the live stream to have this conversation with me. So I'll be sharing that video right away. Let's watch the video.
Was Jesus really broke? Historical evidence tells us he was actually a pretty successful entrepreneur. Here's three things that we know. Number one, we know he had an accountant. Back then, you don't have somebody managing your money if you don't have a lot of money to manage. Second thing, when he died, all of the Roman soldiers played blackjack to see that on his clothes because it said that his clothes were worth 3 years' wages. The average American income today is like 60 grand. So that means Jesus is rolling around today in today's dollars with $180,000 in drip. He does not have an issue rolling up in like red bottom shoes and a Louis Vuitton. So you think about somebody who walks around in really nice designer clothes. This guy does not have an issue with how he represents himself with money. Number three, if you wanted to be a rabbi, you couldn't break the fifth commandment of taking care of your elderly parents, honoring your father and mother. And so you see a lot of these rabbis in their old age, they finally get to go into full-time ministry because their parents are dead. In Mark 7, Jesus actually calls them out in front of everybody. He says, you haven't retired your parents, you haven't taken care of them, and you just told your parents, hey, whatever money you were going to get from me, consider as a gift to God. And Jesus says, you're dishonoring the law. Jesus had retired his mom running his dad's carpentry business by the age of 30 before he went into full-time ministry. The next time someone talks smack about Jesus, the Bible, and money, ask them, did you retire your mom by?
All right, so I'm going to take that video once again so you listen closely to what this person was talking about as regarding Jesus, money, and if he was broke. So share my screen and all right, there you go.
Was Jesus really broke? Historical evidence tells us he was actually a pretty successful entrepreneur. Here's three things that we know. Number one, we know he had an accountant, and back then, you don't have somebody managing your money if you don't have a lot of money to manage. Second thing, when he died, all of the Roman soldiers played blackjack to see that to keep his clothes.
Content with the number one
year's wages. The average American income today is like 60 grand. So that means Jesus is rolling around today in today's dollars with $180,000 in. He does not have an issue rolling up in like red bottom shoes and a Louis Vuitton. So you think about somebody who walks around in really nice designer clothes. This guy does not have an issue with how he represents himself with money. Number three, if you wanted to be a rabbi, you couldn't break the fifth commandment of taking care of your elderly parents, honoring your father and mother. And so you see a lot of these rabbis in their old age, they finally get to go into full-time ministry because their parents are dead. In Mark 7, Jesus actually calls them out in front of everybody. And he says, you haven't retired your parents, you haven't taken care of them, and you just told your parents, hey, whatever money you were going to get from me, consider as a gift to God. And Jesus says, you're dishonoring the law. Jesus had retired his mom running his dad's carpentry business by the age of 30 before he went into full-time ministry. The next time someone talks smack about Jesus, the Bible, and money, ask them, did you retire your mom by?
All right, so now let's talk. What do you think about Jesus and money? I think that a lot of Christians are uncomfortable as far as it has to do with the conversation about Jesus as a person and money. And I understand where these thoughts are coming from. Having watched this video, a lot of people were triggered. A lot of people have questions to say, how on earth is Jesus supposed to be attributed to being wealthy? How was he supposed to be attributed to being wealthy when he came in a manger? That was where he was housed on his arrival on the earth. That's lowly. That is, a humble beginning, what many people would call a humble beginning. And sincerely, I intend not to push an opinion on you or stand on the side of if he was or he wasn't. But from what I'll be sharing with you, I believe you're going to come to the place of a decision. Secondly, a lot of people asked questions from the video that I posted a few days ago about what happened when Jesus sent his disciples to go get money from the mouth of the fish, right? So it's to give the tax collectors, and it gives a feeling of Jesus did not have money, and that was why he had to take out some of the activities or actions he took out in his day, like when he even chased away those who were doubling money in the temple. It was like questionable, because if he's somebody who was wealthy, he should understand the ways of money. He should understand and respect those who were dealing with business. But the question still remains that why would he do that? Why would Jesus chase away those who were doubling money? I believe personally, as regarding that particular question, it's that he was doing the right thing at the wrong time and at the wrong place. So they were doing what was wrong at that moment. Nonetheless, I would say Jesus is not against money or against wealth. A lot of criticism can't follow this video or is expected because of what I saw in that video. But I want us to be able to think, to be able to be safe enough to ask questions and have conversations as Christians. Because I could tell that many people, I could tell that one of the reasons why a lot of people probably are living in lack is because of the immediate, impulsive, you know, attack on what sounds like questions or conversations regarding money as Christians. So people rarely sat down to really listen to what that man was saying in details to understand his points, to understand his context, to understand what this person was saying. He gave examples of how, you know, um, lots were being casted for the garment of Jesus. And it is believed that it is because of the worth or the expense of that, you know, resource. And so people had to cast lots in order for them to arrive at who would have that robe. I'm not one to say this is right or this is wrong, but let's be students of history. What I'm trying to share is we should be willing to ask the right questions. And when someone shares an opinion, we shouldn't jump at just criticism. We should ask and research further to know what or what is not. Secondly, another thought that I would share is the person who was interviewed was asked if Jesus was wealthy or he was rich in cash, and he said something. He said it is a known fact that Jesus was an entrepreneur. And the moment I heard that, I knew that almost every religious person or Christian would want to attack that. Why will you equate Jesus to being an entrepreneur? Why will you equate the savior of the world to being an entrepreneur? And I think that we need to come to the place of realizing that before Jesus really did that 3.5 years of ministry, he was, we were told, the son of a carpenter. We were told that Jesus was in the carpentry industry. And people usually even use the example of saying that, I mean, no wonder he hung on a cross, on a wooden cross. So, in a nutshell, I'm trying to say that 30 years of his life was donated, was while learning spirituality, the law, and everything in between. 30 years of his life, we know, was dedicated and devoted to what is known as carpentry. That is an industry, that is business. And so I would believe that Jesus in his day was an artisan, a craftsman, and had money. I would believe that Jesus, thank you for joining this live stream. Let me know where you're watching from. Drop a comment. I believe that in his day, Jesus was not cash broke. Cash broke simply means you don't have money. That the question there wasn't about probably if he was a billionaire or a millionaire. It was a simple question of was Jesus cash broke or bankrupt? And I don't think someone who is bankrupt will be able to afford. Now, I'm going to be talking about the secret place of the wealth of Jesus. I don't believe anyone who, thank you for joining. Let me know where you're watching from. I don't believe that anyone who is bankrupt in terms of the heavenly resource that he has will be able to tell his disciples to go to the fish or to the river and get a fish and that they will find a coin there. This talks to us or tells us about how we should see wealth or how we see wealth. A lot of people see wealth as that money, that dollar bill in the accounts that you have. They do not see wealth as in the capacity, as in the place or position you occupy. We know that Jesus is God and walked on the earth as God. So Jesus walking on the earth. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I see you all. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you think. If Jesus was bankrupt, if Jesus had cash, or if Jesus was broke. People believed that. Another thought people shared is that Jesus had just enough. And I'm not gonna, I think that's one particular point that I'm gonna agree with and say, actually, Jesus had sufficient enough meat or enough for every day. And that was why when they called for the taxes, he's just go give to God what is God and give to Caesar what is Caesar. So He respected the government authority. He did not use spirituality to run away from responsibility. Jesus did not use spirituality to run away from responsibility. Thank you for joining. The question is, was Jesus cash broke or was he read wealthy? Did he have cash? Did he have resource? Was he broke? And people are offended with this question because of probably a religious mindset. But I think we should have these questions because we find a lot of irresponsibility laced in spirituality in today's society because people do not understand the context in which Jesus lived in his day. So people at the sound of whatever looks like money, finance, wealth, simply conclude that we are talking about prosperity gospel. Simply conclude that, nah, they're not preaching the gospel. And if you watched other videos on this channel, you would see several other videos where I have reacted to so many things about faith, so many questions about God, questions that have to do with, the existence of God, the creation, questions that have to do with faith, really. So the point is, Jesus understood the place of money, despite that it may not have been a thing that he took as a great deal, because you cannot serve both God and mammon, or you cannot serve God and mammon. It is either you serve one or hate the other, or you love one or you hate the other. And so Jesus had order in his finances. That is why it is also attributed to him that he had an accountant. He had somebody who was responsible for taking care of the purse, someone who was responsible for the ministry purse. And it's interesting that a lot of people who understand the message of, Jesus and understand the implications or the, relevance of it in money or in finances would tell you that the person who even was an accountant was said to be a sycophant. He was said to be a thief. The person who had access to the bulk of the resources Jesus had was believed to be, you know, a thief. So Jesus wasn't scared to let such person handle his resources. Why is that? I personally believe because he had access. He had access to so much wealth and resource that from heaven. The gold is the Lord's, right? The cattle on thousand hill are the Lord's. So what is it that God would lack in human form? If God is Jesus, right? Or rather, if Jesus is God in human form, I don't believe Jesus was not wealthy. It's two-sided. In terms of spirituality, Jesus was not broke because he had what it takes to call for a fish, send for a fish, and the fish will bring coin to its hand for his disciples to have access to. That talks about a realm, a place of abundance, an abundant mindset and mentality, an abundance place where you can live on the earth and literally not have anything in your account. But when there is a need for that resource, God will call, or God would, cause for its availability at the right time and at the right place. But here's the trick, or here's the catch. You have to be like Jesus, know the instruction. You have to, like Jesus, know to tell your disciples or your workers in your factory or your workers in the office you are at to go, or the company you are, the CEO of, or the company, or the marketing department that you are in charge of. You have to, like Jesus, know where to tell your salespersons, your corporate, your employees to go get the fish there. It has nothing to do with prosperity gospel. It is the reality that money is important, and Jesus understood that reality. Now, um, one of the things that is coming to mind is also the fact that as a carpenter, I don't believe he was doing the job for free for people. He wouldn't have been doing that for free. So Jesus was not broke. In the human side of things, or in the natural side of things, he couldn't have been broke. I wouldn't believe he would have been broke because he had what you would call a skill in today's world. He had what you would call an upholstery business. The cushions, the chairs I'm sitting on in Jesus's day would probably have been made by him, and people would not have known that this was Jesus Christ. Hey, I'm just touching something right now. People would probably have used up the product Jesus produced without knowing that Jesus produced those products. And they probably would have done business and bought and paid heavily for it because of the excellence I believe Jesus would have had in his day. So I know this is a very thin line, this is a very dicey conversation. Notwithstanding, I had to create this video in order to communicate what I believe the posture of the church or the posture of Christians should be whenever we talk about money, whenever money is being spoken about, and it's as it regards or as far as it has to do with Jesus, there has to be um that consciousness that, oh, this young man or this man who is God lived on the earth and required resources to run his life. So let's not make it look like everything about Jesus was all supernatural without the place of money. And that's why I give you the perspective of him being a carpenter and at the same time him being able to call forth a fish to bring forth coin in its mouth. So with these, I'm calling on you to not be irresponsible with spirituality and finances. So do not use spirituality as a yardstick to explain irresponsibility. Do not use spirituality as a tool, right? Or as a measuring tool to say, nah, I don't need money. I don't need money. I don't need resource. I, I'm good. I think you're gonna be so irrelevant in the earth if you have that mindset or if you live that way. I understand also with the people who have communicated their grievances or their thoughts of how Jesus lived a humble and a lowly life on the earth and wasn't really a money person. And I totally agree with you. I totally understand with you. And that for me is that we all need to live a lowly life, a humble life, irrespective of our capacities. Just like Jesus had the capacity to call forth gold out of the fish, to call forth wealth out of the fish, to do so much with the supernatural. But evidently, why it is, a concept that is criticized as prosperity gospel is because Jesus lived a humble and a simple life, and which is opposed to what we see in today's world. A lot of pastors, a lot of church leaders, a lot of spiritual people have now seemingly put, money ahead, have now seemingly put money ahead of the gospel, whereas the gospel should be what we propagate and push forward. And anything that's with our resource, we can simply have a good life, be philanthropic, or not philanthropic necessarily, be God loving, because you can't be philanthropic and not love God. You can do philanthropy and not have a good heart for the people you are being philanthropic towards. The enemy, Satan, the devil, can give you something for your soul. So philanthropy is not necessarily an idea that is godly. It is good, it is goodly. This is a conversation for another day, and I may get backlash for this. But if you're a spiritual person, I believe that the idea of money, the conversation about money, the reason I'm not feeling bad to talk about this is, or feeling in a way, wrong, is because we've had so much other conversations, and in this season, that video triggered my, you know, thoughts to talk about this. That video triggered reactions, and it has made me not to let it to slide, but to come forth and have a thought about what money, or about our position as it regards money and Jesus and ourselves as Christians, the posture we ought to have. Thank you for watching my second live stream so far. I think that I will come in live probably every Sunday or once every week. I would probably communicate that, or expect to see me live once every week. I intend to do this for the long haul. Thank you for watching. If you've not subscribed, please drop everything you're doing and hit on that subscribe button for the next time I'm going to be sharing an interesting video and perspective as it has to do with Christianity. Thank you for watching. God bless you.